things that are coming up down Pennsylvania Avenue on Capitol Hill. Would love your quick feedback. You mentioned already the pill penalty, and hey, that's a great drug you've got there. Any chance it comes as a biologic? Because then I'd be interested. So obviously the EPIC Act not included in reconciliation. Orphan cures was, which fixes one of the key flaws in the IRA. The concern about small molecule versus biologic, still real, still something you think about?
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely something I think about, and I think it really is. While it's around, it's going to be driving this preference for one therapeutic class versus the other. And I like to point out that small molecules are really useful. That's like penicillin, right? I mean, there's some really good drugs, and they have a lot of advantages. They you can take them at home. They don't need infusion centers. The biologics are great too, but they have some complexity that small molecules don't. So it's really in our interest to not really have a preference in the law one way or the other, because I think we need both, good research in both classes of medicine. So I worry about this a lot. In fact, when the IRA came out, I think there were some who hoped to repeal it entirely, and I thought that was probably unwise. I thought there are aspects of the IRA that are very popular that do things that it solves, however inelegantly, the problem that some drugs seemingly never went off patent, that they had these very extended branded lives that were hard to defend, and it drove everybody crazy, Republicans and Democrats both. And so the IRA was a solution to that problem, and capping some of the out-of-pocket costs, very popular. Some of the other things popular. So I always say we should try and fix it. We should try and address those things that are the most detrimental to industry and to drug discovery and to helping the American patient. And one of those things was the orphan problem, where if you got your drug approved for an orphan designation, the IRA then created this massive disincentive to not ever seek orphan designation for anything else. And that you'll know the details better than I, but that was in part fixed, if you will, in the in the one big beautiful bill in the reconciliation process. So what's left to me, the other problem that it seems to make not great sense from my point of view, is the pill penalty, and I do hope that will get fixed. I think that would provide an incentive to for Venture and people like me to work on small molecules again. It doesn't sound, if you don't kind of understand it, like 9 to 13 is that big a difference. But if you really think about drugs in general make most of their money the longer they're on the market, as doctors feel comfortable using them and they get embraced. So the last year or two are by far the most valuable. So, cutting the period from 13 to 9 years, is sort of like a 50% cut in the net present value of the asset. So, those kinds of huge, effects are going to disincentivize people. And we're only going to have biologics, and, biologics have their advantages, but, we need small molecules as well. So I think, fixing that seems like an obvious thing that still ought to happen. I believe there's bipartisan support for this in Congress. I do think that this has got a decent chance if Congress is able to pass laws and
that's
a big. If things are going to happen, then this I think has decent prospects.
That's a big if, Ned. I wouldn't normally put a guest through scientific rigor, but you are a world-class expert in oncology. I did a piece with JF over at Atlas about small molecule and the next sort of revolution in oncology. And one of his key points was that specific to cancer, there is so much that biologics just may not be able to do down the line in terms of reaching certain parts of the body, things like that. You're a world-class oncology expert. Agree with that statement that for the cancer community, we were actually kind of beginning to look back at small molecule and see what's there.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, like one really obvious, easy to understand advantage of small molecules is it's like a pill you can take every day. And so, antibodies like biologics, you often have to infuse. Even to do that weekly is a hassle. Often it's kind of every couple of weeks. So if you need a drug to be present at a decent pharmacological concentration to provide some effect for a long period of time, like in leukemia, sometimes we do this for years. We treat now kids for AML, for ALL for like 2 years, right? You just need a small molecule to do that. There's really no way to do that with a biologic. So So sustained pharmacologic effect is an obvious example where small molecules kind of win. The other thing where small molecules kind of win is you can kind of do them anywhere. So you can pack up a box of pills and send it to Malawi to fight malaria. CAR T cells require a complex GMP manufacture and stuff like that. So small molecules have this, they go generic. There's a very appealing feature that there's a very straightforward path to them to become low-cost medicines that can be used for worldwide impact. So we should love small molecules. Some of our best friends are these are medicines that we've all taken and used throughout our lives, and it's not like we found them all. There are great ideas still left to be tapped. So I think that is a therapeutic class that really is important.